Designer unboxing. Today we're going to be getting into the Palm Buds Pro. So one of my best friends in the whole world is Howard Nook, who is one of the founders of Palm, and he and his design team have worked on these. He sent me a pair to check out. Howard and I worked together. We were both creative directors at Frog Design. He went on to Samsung. I went on to Sound United. And yeah, we kind of both went our ways from there. They recently released these new wireless earphones, and he kindly sent me a pair to check out. So let's dig into them. You can hear that scratching noise. It's my dog Enzo trying to get comfortable in his bed. Buddy, chill out. Thank you. All right. So before we open them up, let's just check out the packaging. It's interesting. I feel like as an industrial designer by training, I've had to work on a lot more packaging in the last 10 years of my career. And I think kind of the game has gone up quite a bit in packaging. So I always like to kind of see what's going on here. So we've got kind of a matte finish paper, but then you'll notice these kind of glossy hits where these renders are of the earphones, which have this kind of glossiness to them. That's usually because there's a UV coating specifically on wherever the rendering is that you can specify. That's something you have to specify in the process to get that. It just makes it feel a little bit more premium. And I'm assuming these are renderings instead of photographs. Basically, ever since Beats first launched their first headphones and did everything with renderings on the packaging, things have switched over to renderings on packaging instead of photographs. And just because the renderings are so clean, it can look kind of better than real in a way. The front of the package is clean otherwise. On the side here, again, just a simple statement. Kind of specs on the back. Notice no UV coating on the back, a little cost saving there. I always like to notice those little things. And then just some basic specs on the side here. Let's get into the box here and check out the earphones themselves. See what is going on. So we got kind of a nice magnetized flap here. This has kind of become industry standard for the most part in consumer electronics, where you have a magnetized package. Nice kind of gatefold, very subtle. Feel the moment, very tonal, dark gray on black printing. And we've just got some very little minimal thing to remove, some plastic bits, a little quick start guide. So not too much in the box, but I think for the most part, I would think at this point, wireless earphones pretty self-explanatory for most people. See what other accessories we got in here. So just charging cable, USB-C. This feels like some different tips perhaps. Yeah, just some different size earphone tips, pretty standard. These are typically made out of silicone so that they don't irritate you. And then we have the earpods themselves with a little wrap on them, very Apple-esque wrapping here to prevent scratching and scuffing. So if you ever wondered, like, why do all my consumer electronics have all this wrapping on them when they're in the package? Well, this package piece feels like a piece of styrene. It's not soft, right? I mean, it's smooth, but this just kind of basically can agitate or scratch the product just through shipping, right? Think of something as shipping over the ocean. It might be getting kind of vibrated and jostled around, and all that jostling might damage any kind of very specific finishes that are on the product. And so this finish, it's not a soft touch finish, but it's a very matte finish. And so I bet you if it didn't have this little plastic sheeting on it, this thing would come out of here all scratched up. So that's why all of your stuff has extra plastic over it, even though it's inside of your of a package. So a couple of things going on here. Interesting, there's a little bit, you'll notice this little hit here. So it seems to be an intentional, like a smaller radii here, almost like this was like an intentional G1 radius instead of a G2. It's not totally smooth. It's kind of like there's a flat and then a radius, and that leaves these kind of highlight lines here. So I'm going to assume, knowing Howard, I'm going to assume that was intentional, especially because it doesn't happen here, right? So this seems like a full G2 radius, so it's smoothed out versus this one. And maybe that was to make this look a little bit narrower, I'm going to assume. I got to do this. I have to pull in Apple packaging by comparison. So that's a little bit, the Palm one is a little bit shorter, but a little bit wider. So maybe they did this, again, to make this feel a little bit narrower than it is. The Palm branding is super subtle, which I love to see, just really clean, very kind of tone on tone. And then you can see there's a very slight, small circle here for an LED. I assume to show that it's charged, which is pretty nice because for the Apple ones, you have to open up to see that, right? So I'm going to assume we're going to get an external kind of state of charge moment. Also kind of a magnetic closure, similar to the Apple ones. But we have a plastic hinge here versus a metal hinge. But it still feels really nice. Right, let's get into, oh yeah, there we go, state of charge. It's probably also trying to pair with something, which I will do later. So let's pull out the AirPods here. This is kind of interesting. Again, I love the small details. So check this out. This is a very matte case, right? This is all matte finish. But if you get into and open this here, let's see if we can get the light to show this. There's actually a glossy finish where the earphones go themselves. Pretty nice little detail. Also, you can see deep in here all of the regulatory information. This regulatory information is typically legally needs to be there, but designers have found more and more clever places to hide it. And here you can see it's on the inside bottom cover of the charging case. So clever, nice, and very tonal. I never even really noticed where it is on the Apple ones. I don't even know where it is on here. Apple tends to kind of bend the rules. Oh, they're trying to connect. Apple tends to try to bend the rules when they want to. They just have the tiniest little thing here, but they don't have the FCC mark or anything. I don't know how to get away with that. Sometimes Apple just goes for it. But let's take a look at the earphones themselves. So really clean design. This is an in-ear earphone, unlike an AirPod. These are AirPods. Oh, stop trying to connect AirPods. That are kind of just rest in your ear itself, but they don't go in the ear canal like these, like the AirPod Pros would. But so clearly these are meant to compete more with the AirPod Pros. Couple nice little finish changes on the earphones themselves. You can see we've got a pairing light, trying to find out where to go here. Slight little finish change down here at the microphone moment. And then this is, you can see a little two-prong charge. I'm assuming we're going to see it's like two-prong charge as well as a little microphone all clustered in there. It's a nice design. It's very clean. There's this kind of iconic overall shape, which is nice. It definitely, obviously it's aware of AirPods. This case isn't dissimilar, but what I like is that they're different enough, right? Like it's not trying to be an AirPod, which is nice. Um, and I think that can be really hard for companies. This is this is the best selling earphone basically in the country, and it can be really tempting to just copy that, right? Or change it 20%. We've all seen it. But this has a kind of distinct outer shape that lets you know very clearly that this is not an Apple product. And so I appreciate that. I appreciate when a company tries to be itself and show how it's different, um, versus trying to just take 10% from the market leader. So I'll be super interested to try these out. For those of you that don't know, I've designed a bunch of headphones over the years. And so, all these little things have a huge impact on the performance of the headphone. This kind of oblong chamber here is going to help keep this in your ear, but this is also an acoustic chamber, right? Like the way drivers, which the little thing that makes the sound in here is called the driver. The way drivers work is they pulse back and forth, right? That pulsing movement moves air, which creates vibration, which creates sound. But in order for that driver to pulse, it needs air on the backside. So you'll notice higher end earphones have a bigger chamber here so they can have a little bit more air, so they can push more air out and sound crisper, sound sharper, reach lower lows, higher highs. All right, that's pretty much it on these Palm Buds Pro. As I said, I'm going to give these a try this week. I'm going to pair these up and see how they sound compared to my Apple competitive product. But super excited, and congrats to Howard Nook and Dennis and the entire Palm team for launching these. All right, everybody. See you next time.